because you have the thinking movement, you begin to reflect. Otherwise, we wouldn't talk.
Yes. Yes.
You begin to reflect. What is this body's movement and rhythm is, and where it is mistaken as a thought that is impending on its movement, what we call natural. And then you see that if there was no problem, if there was rhythmic, like just the body's movement, we wouldn't be discussing these things.
Yes.
Because there is a problem.
Yes, there is a problem. The problem is a separation of the mind,
but
whatever.
You can't say that what would it take to bring that separation into a rhythmic movement.
How you mean arithmetic movement now?
The natural rhythm that the body is continuing. When the body is not hungry, it doesn't care about your food.
Yes.
But you do all
Yes,
the time.
the mind starts to
What it would do to fall in the rhythm of body's natural needs. There is a problem because
Yes.
it is excessively doing things that
Yes.
the body doesn't want.
Exactly. Yeah.
Where is that worry come from? Where is that incessant drive comes? Body is not cared about your fear when it sleeps or when it's sitting there. So you see, there is a lack of rhythm.
Yes.
There is a lack of natural harmony. And you can't say, can you separate? Even if you don't or do, the problem remains.
Yes.
That's what I'm telling.
The fact remains.
Yes, the fact remains that it wants to know the natural rhythm.
But the fact remains also that we can't seem to do a damn about it. Because it's just the way it is.
Yet you don't believe that 100%.
Yes, that is the thing. Yeah. That is true.
You don't believe. You don't give.
But it's more than a belief, no? I mean, I can believe it is like
No,
that.
belief.
But there seems to be...
Belief. Before we use the word belief, what do you mean by belief? That's the thing. Like your body has certain belief that when one step gives, the brain and the body knows the second step is going to be necessary for it to move. That's also a belief.
But you see,
Can you believe?
But could
Can
you
you believe?
Could you call that a belief?
And that's what I'm asking you.
I would say it's more a intrinsic knowing or intelligence.
Yes.
This is not a belief.
What makes you think that is not allowing the thought to have this kind of intrinsic order?
Just, I think it's the separation which the mind produces. All the thoughts, not mind, the thoughts.
Yeah. So there,
because it's constantly objectified.
So somebody will ask you, what makes some inception into a species something that is not maintaining its rhythm? How is it possible? Isn't it a natural thing? Because you are asking. We are asking. Isn't it a natural thing to ask? Why is it something like that? Okay. It's a capacity.
Yes.
You see, it's a capacity. This capacity gives us an edge for us to survive better. Because, you see, what is thought? Ultimately, it's a kind of reflection that occurs into a human brain, which it can retrieve some information in absence of the stimulus and response of life. There is an information that can be retrieved without the stimulus and response. It's in the parallel world. So you can recollect a memory and make it almost a real. Okay, so that it's a capacity. So I can look thought in that way. It's a capacity to retrieve a past incident. Or, you see, it's a capacity that gives us a reflection which analyzes the way things are. For example, I'll give you a simple example. Say you are walking. You suddenly fell down. Hit a stone on your knee. A reflection came. You got hurt because that stone hit your knee. If you project from there, if I use that stone to hit somebody, it's an age to me. Because I need to protect myself by hitting somebody or to gather my food to kill somebody, right? So if I use that tool as a stone, by seeing I got hurt, I retrieved a memory from there that memory gives me a causality that this stone and this hitting causes me to wound. So I can create another similar kind of thing to another species that I need to kill or eat or protect myself.
Yeah, but this is not really the problem, isn't it?
No, that is how I'm talking about the inception of it.
Ah, okay.
You see, that added capacity came to this biped animal.
Well, it's a mental movement, no?
How do you know that the movement that animal has, which they use to recognize their food, prey, mate, navigation, is so much different from ours?
Well, it's not different from ours, but the big difference is that they don't have a sense of individual independent entity like we have seen to
it has an independent entity too. It individually protects itself all the time.
Yeah, but that is an instinct, it's not a thought
So
process.
what is that is not instinct in our brain? The part of our recognition is a big programming that is going on in this, and your body is doing that. 98.9%, 98. Precisely 5% of the mechanism that you need to survive is doing that by itself.
Yes.
All the immune system that is going on, all the bacteria that are coming, they are knowing which bacteria is bad and keeping it with a constant number. As soon as that bacteria number increases, it makes it sick, it fights. Otherwise it is gone.
Yeah.
Like that, so many things. The whole vision, the whole of this electromagnetic radiation that falls in this, the entire thing is coming to you and deciphered through your retina and brain, a complete seamless depth-induced universe. Every 1/15th of a second, it's bringing that and making it a part of your existential need. Because if you don't understand the color, the variation, the shape, and its movement, this body is in danger. It has to know all these things exactly, precisely. We don't even know how it is doing it.
No, it's just doing it.
It's doing it. Not we. Even the science with all its discovery still doesn't know how it is unfolding.
They will never know.
That is the belief that many people have. But even though they know, it is possible to know.
Not the whole game.
That's what you believe. Even though the problem is...
But Guha, with what can they know it? They can only know it through the mind. And the mind is totally conditioned and limited.
Yes,
and
but
this is infinite movement.
No, that is what... But what I am saying is, maybe they will know one day what makes this process possible. 100 years ago, we didn't know many things. Now we know so much more about the nature and its working, about the brain, about how the body is trying to fight against the bacteria, and knowing that we are trying to improve the physical health. So it is possible to know. What I am saying is, what is not possible to know is that it is not that it is impossible to know, but that information that is there in your brain is not going to be of any use to bring about an harmony inside you.
Definitely not.
That is what is the main problem. The problem is not gathering of information. It is possible. We know now how the neutrinos, which was just absolutely impossible for human brain to ever understand such a thing. But we know indirectly through science its existence.
But you can also see through science that as more they know, as more they don't know. No? It's like the universe is receding from it.
Yeah, but that doesn't stop its knowing, right?
Yes, yes.
But the problem is not that.
No, of course not.
The problem is what that information is doing to an individual. To solve the problem that you think there is a problem, that which is not bringing the harmony, that which is not producing the appropriate result, the information that if I smoke cigarette, I will have cancer, has no value until I put that into action. Right?
Yes.
Or I disregard my body.
And it's not even 100% true, because many people smoke their whole life, they never get cancer.
Yeah, so, but that's why it is a chance.
It's not a thing you say, if you smoke, you will get cancer.
No diseases are like that, but it is the percentage.
Yes.
It is the percentage. You may get smallpox.
How do you know that it is not, a kind of collective suggestion which makes it even worse? Because you see, in Australia, you get this. They have a plain packing now for cigarettes, and they have the most, you don't even know which cigarette it is anymore. They have the most horrible pictures on the packet.
Uh-huh.
And whenever you look at it or open it, it's smoking causes cancer, blah, blah, blah. So it's such a strong, it makes it maybe even more likely that you get it.
To some extent. For example, I say the ad of a guy who writes Harley Davidson, back to the bone.
Yeah.
So that is the movement of the social dynamics.
Yes.
I am talking about an individual. I am just giving an example. Suppose you convince. If you don't convince, forget it. I don't care what they do. I'll do exactly what I like to do. That's a different matter. But suppose you are convinced that there is something which is not bringing a rhythm that you think that it should be there. What is that is not bringing the rhythm that should be there? That's my question.
Yes.
Not what you should believe that.
Yes, this is also my question.
Yes,
Actually, because this is the crux of the problem.
That is the crux. See, there are industries. They want to use human species as guinea pig.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
Okay?
Society is totally screwed.
The dynamics. This is the dynamics that all the time. But what is the position of an individual in that? You can say, I have no problem. I am a part of life going on. If they give us poison, we drink and die. You don't say that because there is a problem. You do feel it, that there is a violation which is going on.
Yes.
There is something that is constantly imposing something which is not important to itself.
Yes.
So there is this. The identification of this problem is a signature that this wants to solve that problem. If that is not a problem, it is not a matter to itself.
Yes, definitely. That is true. Yeah. But what can be done about it?
That is the thing. Since there is a question, there must be something that can be addressed by this individual system. Of course, collectively it is war. Your ideology, Marxism, another's ideology, capitalism, is a collective war. My idea to fulfill, I have to gather more human species. There is no other way. That's the only way. To fulfill an idea, I have to convince this brain first, and then it should start convincing many other brains. That's the only way the idea can perpetuate. There is no other way. I'm not asking that. That is a war.
It seems almost an impossibility to do anything about it, but the thing is there. It's the need, the urge to find out seems to be pushing through, no? And keeps it going. So what is it? I mean, you cannot just sit down and say, okay, finished. I stopped this urge. You cannot.
That is...
Because you are not creating the urge. No?
Yes. That is the only honest approach. By pondering about the problem is actually to some extent gives body. There are two aspects. One, we have this reflecting power, like we do reflect on the problem. Otherwise, if there is no power, then there is no problem. We contaminate animal in thousands of different ways. They can think about it, they become victim, but their system gets intelligent and bypass this oppression. Eventually. So, you see, out of this movement, there is something emerges, which is, the foundation of that is, it is not a belief, it is an overall confidence on the system.
Well, it's intrinsic intelligence.
Yes, that intrinsic intelligence. My focus is that how you can allow that intrinsic intelligence to work in its own way. That's my take. What is that you can do to allow that intrinsic intelligence to work in its optimal capacity?
But isn't it doing it already?
All the time. But then, if it is doing and everything is satisfied, you and I wouldn't be talking about it here.
But so there seems to be parallel worlds, no? That seems to
so you see, where is that parallel world? One is interfering the other.
I think it's just a kind of illusion, no? It's a kind of... we create. The mind creates.
So every time it creates a fantasy, do you see it?
No. That's a problem, no?
So that's what I'm telling. Even though your identification it as a fantasy still is not making it as an active.
Exactly, yeah. But then the question comes, is it possible?
That's what I'm telling.
That this is falling totally. Apparently with Yuji it was like, I don't know, I can't say, but it seemed to have been totally thrown out of this possibility. No?
So this possibility.
Dividing.
So then you try to listen what he's trying to say.
Yeah, but one also sees that, first of all, it's an impossibility to bring it about by that kind of tool.
So that means what?
Secondly, nature is never repeating itself.
No. It is not repeating. But when you see an woman and a man, they are united together and produced a baby, you call it nature is not producing together? It is. It's a process. It's a process that unfolded there. So it can unfold somewhere else, so many places.
It does.
The result, of course, the result may be different. That production will give one particular unique baby. This production, if it hits, will give another. The repetition, the ideas that you will be so and so, such and such, behave such and such, is an impediment.
Yes.
It is a projection of your illusion to a wish fulfillment thing.
Yes.
The movement that creates a future and the wish fulfillment and the willing thing has to be nipped in the bud. The how implies that you are still trying.
Yes.
You see, the movement that produces the how is the movement that creates that separation, what you call parallel movement. How the parallel movement comes to interfere the movement that is absolutely necessary for it to function the way it is predetermined to function. You see, you do acknowledge that there is a way that this body can somehow handle the whole situation.
Well, it constantly does.
It is right. But then where is that movement that tells that there is still some problem?
Yes, you can't find it. I look for it. If I look for it, I can't find it.
So that means the looking has to stop.
Yes. But there is still suffering, so the looking
The
cannot stop.
suffering is an acceptance that something has a prime mover, like somebody who thinks has a say on this.
Exactly.
It does not.
No, it does not. But how is it possible one that is kind of seen and yet the movement
is not
going on?
It does not. That's the whole point. Like, it does not.
How you mean it does not?
Because the inception of that movement has a connotation of wanting to know. And when it hit the dead end in every possible way, then movement by itself nips it in the bud. By itself. It is the power of the discrimination of the brain that processes the thought, and what you see is an outcome of thought. Say there is a suicidal thought. That's dangerous to the body. Body does not want to produce anything like that. It does not.
But there are even animals who seemingly commit suicide.
See, that's why, because you have that, that's why you are trying to project that knowledge onto animal. You see, something
so
is convoluted. No.
We don't know if it is really suicide what they are doing.
No, exactly. It is what you want to see a particular way. You want to show a particular behavior of yours or particular justification of a thought by getting example from the nature. The getting example is a movement. It is like that. I want to hear something a particular way that convinces myself. I will hear it from everywhere.
Yeah, of course. Of course.
That justification process is the most important understanding of its own cessation. What justifies the way I am behaving? Because that is the sense of self.
Yes.
That is the problem, that it has become so used to produce something that gives a sensation of its own power, is the one that justifies. And if you are clever, if you are very intelligent, if you have more information, you will do it smoothly.
Apparently, But it's a total hopeless situation.
You don't say hopeless, you just say hopeless situation. But that, what it's saying hopeless, is not, it does not have a punch.
Yes, right. But even that, I mean...
No, don't project. You are already projecting what would that hopelessness bring. That projection is the one which creates all kinds of possibilities, which is detached from the movement of life altogether. See, whenever there is this kind of discussion, you see there is a movement that is trying to slow it down, not allowing itself to grow in any direction. Then what you do, you project. If I am hopeless, I am going to be a vegetable, I will have suicidal thought. These are all projections. You don't know what would be the outcome. You don't know, really. And you can't conceive that you don't know. And you can continue that. It is not possible for this understanding mechanism to know how to stop the movement that creates knowledge and information.
Yes.
Because you are not completely satisfied that the production of the information is not doing anything good to itself. You're not 100% sure. You always look for the better food, better nutrition, something that really satisfies you, something that gives you pleasure, some thought that makes you function in a particular way. Everything in that way has created to match the information that is already there and produce a resonance that gives you a high. It's not that. That identification is the most important thing for itself, to not roll it anywhere that is already produced a dead end. Seen the dead end. You have seen. You don't walk through the dead end. You know it is dead end.
Yes.
There is something in the system. Recognize it's at a dead end. There's something in the system which is hit very badly. Recognize the system. Like that, if it does not hit the dead end and is not recognized, the system will begin to what is called as the discriminant. The system itself, much earlier than the production and outcome of thought, it will try to discriminate that and will not have any justification. When it pops up, it will have no punchline at all. It will not create a sensation whatsoever. Like you see, you turn your eyes, that's gone.
Yes.
It does not have what you call is conditioning. Conditioning is something that has a ripple effect far-fetched through the present to the future. That will not be allowed by the brain if it begins to learn. The way the immune system, what science does, you trains the immune system to a very bad bacteria by giving a very little amount so that the immune system is safe. But at the same time, it recognizes that invasion of that kind will be dealt very severely from within.
So you mean the brain can do the same?
Exactly! Brain is not different from the immune system. We have an idea that we are different. Here is different, here is different, here. No, it's a part of the whole organism that protects itself all the time.
Yes. But in a way, the brain thought is a kind
of a habitual...
To solve problems of life.
Exactly! But say I have a test, of a great test, developed from a food. If I overeat, it defeats the purpose of its very cause of inception. If I too much drain the energy that needs for a thought to run, it needs oxygen. Okay. My body is producing oxygen through lung and heart, because to run the neurons has to work and creates a circuitry that produces a thought. It's a very multivariable process, and each level has a discrimination. Like the way as you begin to eat food, the sense of taste has to decrease, because as you fulfill your desire, the feedback circuitry in the brain has to reduce the sense of taste, and other things will pop up. You can't eat forever. It has to throw out if you eat too much. So there is this movement of the negative feedback and the positive feedback is there in every stages, even in our brain. The same process that makes the brain active to sort out that thing which is dangerous for itself and which is not. A woman that you want to sex with because of its procreation will create a different sensation from a guy who is coming with a knife.
It's a kind of, but it's all
spontaneous. Exactly.
Program.
So that program is not getting a chance to clean up the circuitry that has been overloaded by the culture right from the day I begin to process my vision as words and my hearing instrument as a thought.
There seemed to be a point when we grow up as a very young child where this separation occurs.
The separation.
Like suddenly I see myself apart from the subject.
Exactly.
But when does it occur? I mean,
that is a gradual process. It's not
unavoidable.
No? It is unavoidable.
Parents put it in, you are this one, and you give you a name, and if you look at very small children, they have no idea.
That they have been bombarded by this. So every single kid is going to face the situation that you and I faced in the childhood. That's a given.
Yeah.
Nobody is free from this invasion. Just the way the nature has all these bacteria, a life that moves, are constantly bombarded by these bacteria. Their immune system has to protect it. They don't, they're done. Right? But one thing remains mysterious in a sense, that in every individual system, right from the beginning, there is a force of opposition which denies this type of inception. It is a struggle for every single system. Somebody does not recognize it. It's like a drug, gives good sensation. As long as you get the reward circuits gets to forehand. But at one point of time, this is going to break down for every single individual. Period. If you are not lucky, if you are lucky to get by this way, that doesn't mean that the problem was not addressed by the system. It is. Of course, our system is brainwashed us to believe continuously that social justification is primary to the individual justification.
Of course.
You have to.
That's how they keep it going. No?
That's the brainwash process. It's like drugging a humanity to use them for a particular ideation.
Yes, it's constantly going on. No?
Constantly. My question is that it's not the war that I'm concerned. I'm concerned about how an individual finds himself in the middle of it, and what are the tools that is available to itself to recognize the problem at first. The recognition itself is the beginning of giving a chance for its own solution.
But that seems to be also built in, no? This kind of...
The building is like, if somebody is hurting me, my system lets me know all the time.
But isn't it the same intelligence, or whatever you want to call it?
It is.
Acting, which also throws up all these questions. And
sure.
Maybe
So, when it exhausts everything, that this questioning mechanism itself is producing a dead end.
But only when it's really exhausting, you totally see that it's a dead end.
Exactly. It is not you.
Yeah, well, of course.
It's not you.
Sure.
It is, you are just giving the system a chance. More chances. Not with any hope. Hope is not giving the system a chance.
Yes. Hope perpetuates
the draining process. See this body? This is where the important aspects of this comes, that there is some mechanism as the human body goes through several different stages of their life, like the way when you were a little boy, you didn't have the chemicals that is necessary to produce a baby. Like that, there are certain stages of life. There a set of modification occurs in the human system that deals with the life at that stage of its development. But there is a constant process that trying to minimize the stress and strain that is produced by an environment. And our environment, the information is one of the most important ingredient of our environment that a human mind faces. This is one of the most important. That's why it is a human problem. It's not an animal problem.
Of course not. It's only a human problem.
Because we thought...
have problems.
No, we thought...
Well, they have problems, but...
Sure,
they don't worry about them.
Yeah, exactly. See, our worries are making us more vulnerable than the system can handle.
Sure.
It's producing stress, which is causing the physical health and physical energy to deplete, not bringing it to a position where the internal organs will trigger it to face the situation optimally. You see that capacity? I believe in a sense, my belief is like I put my finger in the fire and it burns, it's like that. But I cannot tell you the physics and chemistry and biology of it. It's a phenomenal understanding. Like if I step from the precipice, I'm going to die.
But it's not really a belief anymore.
It's not a belief anymore. It is a functional entity.
Yes. It's a kind of...
It's a functional. Yes, it is a functional thing. If I go into the fire, I'm going to burn myself. It's like that. It's a functional thing that there are certain things in your human system. It begins to unfold in a way that it can accept the challenge of the situation and handles it optimally. That's it.
Yes.
Not a special knowledge, not a special information that will allow me to make very good coffee. It is none of that.
Yes. It's much before that.
It's much before. The discrimination takes place through the cellular level, through the level in which the organization of the brain itself discriminates the inception of a thought. And only when I will make a handshake with Peter, or I'll avoid my path.
Yes.
Something like that. It's long before.
Yes.
I look at your
and
face.
It's totally in the.
It is totally normal, and it is outside the information gathering process.
Yes.
That's what is the most important. It is outside the information gathering process.
So it's just a kind of need to know base.
A need to know base for this kind of functional aspect. The society has created a rule.
Yes.
I need to know the rule for my own protection. If I am not aware of the traffic pattern, I put myself in danger and the other person in danger.
Yeah, okay, that's all right. But once it gets into psychology,
everything is an extension of that.
Yes.
There is no functional truth beyond that. All truth that can be expressed by words and images are a functional truth that the society has invented for status quo. There is nothing outside of that. Whatever you can recollect, whatever the image you can construct, is there for us for the social interaction.
So you would say also the whole so-called spiritual way or path
is an extension of the same
also
thing.
It's not different.
Exactly.
So
that recognition will put a sign of dead end.
So the so-called spiritual movement, is it? I mean, it's pretty clear.
See, that identification of the dead end reduces a tremendous amount of stress and load from your shoulder, because that is the hope that the religious and the spiritual people has lingered in us, infested our deep circuitry.
How they came up with it?
Exactly, because that
somehow,
somehow it is like this. The movement of the self that wants to understand creates this kind of signpost.
But Guha, these kind of guys like, for instance, Ramanama, I mean, I don't want to elevate them too, but so apparently they have something has happened to them, or they have seen something which is maybe even out of this whole structure.
No, that possibility makes you go around the hope until you die.
Yes.
You never give chance to the one that is really most vital, most important, and most fun. All your biology knowledge is still not acting against that myth that Ramana Maharshi was very different from you. Of course, after it becomes functional, it's a functional human species.
Yeah,
but the structure is just some movement. The thing that we are imagining is that there is something inside us in some form or other which is superior, which is not.
Not superior maybe, but
functional. It's just
but it's incredible intelligence acting.
Your body is also.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Exactly. That separation, that I am intelligent because I have a self, the movement which produces thinking and retrieve the information.
What do you mean with self?
No, there is no self.
No.
There is some movement from my childhood geared me to recollect information. They taught me.
And that seems to create an entity, separate entity.
That seems to create a continuity of that same movement, because it is that very beginning. It was tied with the reward and punishment. If I collect it better, if I outsmart some guy in collecting appropriate information, I am awarded. So that gives a kind of drugging effect to that process of movement. It feels good. It doesn't feel good. What feels good is the sensation that has been identified as a winner. The sensation that identified as a backpatting by my mom or my teacher. Created a brain pattern through the emotion, the chemical that is necessary to produce a sensation in the body, identified as a desirable, positive, happy movement. And it gets drugged by that. All drugging effect is a phenomena that loses the discrimination of the positive and the negative feedback loop. That is sustained, a balance that the body is seeking all along and every second. Somehow that is displaced. We know, biologists know, how you can put a small electrical impulse to a rat which will forget food and keep pressing that until it dies. Nature has no perfection. It is the mind which creates the perfection. Nature does not know any such thing as perfection at all. It just has a capacity for itself to maintain certain form, certain energetic, certain movement, and in doing so, it faces the challenge, and it is continuously tinker inside to overcome that challenge. What we see is the result of that million years of challenge solving problem. What my capacity of the brain. So in that way, there is always nooks and cracks and gravities and everything, these things. And so anytime it can go wrong. There is no perfect hunter, there is no perfect deer which will protect itself from all life. There is no such thing. It is our ideas. So there is no perfection. My perfection, putting Raman Maharshi or Yuji or anybody in that frame, creates a falseness.
Yes. Sure.
That is the image making process that has been brainwashed us to believe is superior than the intelligence of this physical system. And this is not different from all the other life forms that is parallelly functioning with us right from the day one when the life begins. If we know that I need a mother and father to produce myself, I didn't come from this brain doesn't came here like that. This brain has been evolved here for million years of tinkering so that it can pick up a language, a human language. A monkey cannot do that because it came through a different genetic lineup. No matter how much you expose to it, it is not. Whereas a human baby, if you take it, put it in China, speaks fluently Chinese right from the day one. It can process the information. So these things are like that. Why individual reflection does not give that kind of credit where the credit is due? Because we have been brainwashed to believe somebody has to be king, somebody has to be God, somebody has to be in a position of all the women, like the kings.
Of knowing all the answers.
Or knowing all the answers, where the questioning itself is not a necessity. A guy who is in the field producing this beautiful food for our health has been doing for 100 generations. Doesn't need to know there's a Beethoven.
No. But then
we created that as what we call is culture. The conditioning of the culture makes us feel you are Christian, I am Hindu, I am white, you are black. These are all external morphology created by the different situation that a particular life form evolved out. But the innate programming that is going on inside is same for all human species.
But what do you say to this, like you probably very familiar with Advaita Vedanta, with what they call the non-duality,
It is a concept.
Maybe total separation, like they say there is a creation, but it's all not really like that. It's only apparent.
But my question is...
There's only the void. No?
Yes, only the void. We can talk about that for hours.
But it's not a practical
Exactly.
thing. That's what I also see.
The human mind cannot conceive or function in a state of non-duality. It is not possible.
Exactly.
It is not possible. You're accepting that as a possibility of functioning in this living form is going to create a belief, and following that belief, you will make yourself miserable. You will think that Ramana hits that and I am miserable because I am not hitting that. So they will tell, because you didn't do shit in your past life. That is how the idea will be perpetuating to make me miserable. Somebody is sitting there and giving lecture, pretending himself to function that way.
But maybe he got it,
The guy who got it will not talk about that. It is not a problem.
You mean who really got it?
Who really got it. It is not a problem for him. He is not going to be bothered about that. This is where, if you are happy, you will not seek happiness, period.
Definitely, that's true. But who is happy now? What is happiness now?
That is not a question. Why I should compare? Right now, I feel great. That's all matters for me.
Yes.
Why am I projecting myself in a situation where I should be better than this and spoiling this moment?
Exactly.
What for?
Well, that is the insanity of humanity.
Exactly.
It's totally insane. But even seeing that it is insane, it doesn't stop the movement. No?
That means, according to the language, it is not seeing.
Yes.
It is not seeing. It is a verbalization. Yeah. It is still the acting of the self which wants to justify that he is in some shit state.
Yeah.
Because he's been treated well. You don't care.
But you see, Guha, when you talk to these so-called Advaita Vedanta, these non-duality teachers,
it's a very palatable.
They have a very strong, they seem to have a very strong position that there's just this void, no?
That's fine.
Of course, there's appearance, but it's not real, no?
Oh yes. So
it's like the rainbow. A rainbow is there, but the blue sea, you can see the sea blue. No. But go and get a bucket of water, it's not blue.
No, that is not true, because they don't know the entire stuff.
Yeah, exactly. That is also my feeling.
Yes.
But when you talk to them or sit in front of them,
I won't go and talk to them. I won't go and talk to them because I don't need anything from them.
Of course not. You're not, but...
No, that is the fact.
So you think they take you on a ride?
They take you on a ride.
Well, this is also my feeling. It's still a closed loop.
That's it. Not only closed loop. Why do you need to justify all the time? There is a state in which you can be. That justification itself tells that it's a false movement. It's in the conception. It's in the imagination. The life that beats itself does not need that justification at all. It is the same idea. The idea that comes in a way of taking our energy out of us to make some system sustainable is an extension. So that idea and the idea of capitalism, the idea of socialism, idea of Vishishtadvaita, idea of with form, without form God, they are not different. They're all in the form of ideas.
Yes.
Something, if it's functional in me, I will have no need to justify that when I eat good food, I feel satisfied, my hunger is gone, I sleep well, get up again and get food. That is the rhythm of life. I don't have to justify. Something that is working inside you, you will have no desire to justify to anybody.
Exactly.
The justification is an imposition of an idea that you have to brainwash yourself to believe first and then pass that belief to other people.
So you mean all this is kind of brainwashing and it's still in reality?
Absolutely!
Even if they say we are beyond beliefs.
There is no such thing as beyond belief. The one who talks is a part of the belief.
Well, you see, they say, for instance, the only thing you can be sure of is
what?
That you exist, its existence.
So, which gives existence? It is the mind which identifies itself as a part of the existence, is already in not functioning as non-duality. It is period.
But you see, they say, stop thinking for a moment.
Who tells that? He cannot. That because he does
fall apart.
He does not know the dynamics of thinking. Every single word that he is telling is a product of the machinery that came to human species as a thought mechanism. Every single word.
So you say even if you stop, for a second you stop a thought?
If there is no second to stop a thought, what can happen is you may not recollect the spaces that you are going through.
Exactly.
That happens in your deep sleep every day, buddy.
Yeah, exactly.
That 8 hours that you sleep, how much do you recollect?
I don't
Often
sleep 8
nothing.
hours.
I'm telling you don't need to. If you sleep very strongly, few hours.
No, you're gone, no?
You are rejuvenated. You are gone. How much do you recollect? One guy said, when you get up next day, who is that guy? Went through the sleep and come up. I said, there is nobody, because that which you identify me as a Guha, you give a name to a dog, call him Guha. Next day he will sleep. Next day when he gets up, he will again respond to the same name.
Yes.
So you think that he has something, and but you are already said that I am different from the dog because I have something else involving an eternal thing that goes on. Is the one who sleeps and experiences and thinks and nothing touched. So that is there.
So you would say that all these so-called teachers are just bullshitting you?
if you are really sincere, you will see that they themselves are sitting in a merry-go-round and going around the same old shit. Nothing is working in their own life.
That is actually my feeling also. It's a kind of close.
If you are not afraid to challenge, you will see. It is the fear that maybe Ramana has created something, and Yuji and all these big gurus, they may be something. It is the fear. It is the fear that is standing on our front to question the idea.
Also to fear to really let all this go and be in a
not let
alone,
challenge those ideas and see how much of it is functioning in me. I'm not any different from the other. The Ramana created by somebody. Some mother and father fucked and brought that little fellow. Just grew up in some. So everybody is like that. What's the big deal? It is our.
Yeah, but he seemed to have
the same image making
story, no?
The story. There are so many stories. If you write your story, you can write the life of a pie. You see the movie?
Yeah, sure. Like I read your story, no? I mean, it's fascinating.
It is fascinating.
And also very touching because you recognize so many elements which.
Yes, because
it's not just here. It's you can totally
because when
identify
when you are not, yes, it is when you are not trying to uphold an idea. You see, the investment is gone.
How you mean?
All our investment is upholding an idea. All system, all religion, all spirituality, everything is, we are constantly trying to work out, to bring some point of view which is logically correct than the other point of view. That's all, the whole energy is going behind that. Somehow that is absent. You will become more vital and you give importance to the instrument that is so much functional. In fact, what would happen is your reflective capacity is going to enhance too, which will be fearlessly seeing what is right, what is wrong in this context.
Yeah, only in that context.
That is the only context it is there. Who the fuck gives whoever thought anything else? I can't read others' thought. All I can see what they're telling in the book. How much of it is true? How do I know? People are spitting lies all the time.
It's like Shakespeare long back said.
Yeah.
No good, no bad, only thinking makes it.
Only conditioning. Certain things that is accepted by my society, we consider is okay and good. And in the same thing which is not accepted in another society, will be considered as bad.
Exactly.
Same way.
Exactly.
What is right in the capitalist society is not right in the communist society, is not right in a religious society, things like that. Behavior of men, women, children will be considered as bad if they grown up in a different society.
Yeah, it changes from
That's it. So it is the conditioning, that's all. The way my sound and word and the light has been accumulated in my brain and identified as good and bad. I'm just a slave of those things.
But I'm questioning this thing, that you can just let go of this movement.
No, you can't.
You cannot.
You cannot.
Exactly. So
then what happens? The movement is producing always some result, right? Because you want to know.
Yeah, well, that's
So you have to see the functional aspect of those results.
Yes.
The functional aspects of those results.
How they function.
How they function in your life.
Yeah.
If it does not, reject.
Yeah.
It's a simple thing.
Yeah, but there's always also this movement of, as you said before, of hope going. I'm doing something wrong. I see it's working with this guy, why it's not working here?
Yeah.
So maybe that guy got it right and I get it wrong. You see this movement?
So it may be that somebody is projecting someone else as having to get something. Have you ever questioned what is there to get?
Yeah, definitely. Well, you see, when you have been in this so-called spiritual circuit for a long time, you come across
what happens
the momentum in oneself is tremendous.
That momentum.
You can't let go.
That is the drug.
You sit like you are sitting on a machine which is just pulling you along.
That is the drug. That is a burden that Peter has been accustomed to carrying.
But Guha, you don't create this. You don't.
No, I'm not telling you.
It's there from the beginning.
No, I'm not telling you. See, in all these talks that you have been just accustomed to, giving momentum to the very thing that they are telling that it should not be there.
Yes. Yes.
You see how reverse this process is? Every fellow wants to justify that he is in a possession of a knowledge or a game or something that can be of some use to you, so that Peter will not be there.
Exactly.
But he needs Peter to move behind him.
Exactly.
Otherwise, his purpose will not be solved.
Yeah. But they also don't have a choice in saying that, no?
No. They have. Most of the people are brainwashed themselves to be. My question is like this. Suppose I brainwashed myself to believe that if I can bring about a state of non-duality in you, that is good for you, because I believe that state of non-duality existed in me and I am in a position of that. So my question is, whether I brainwashed myself to believe or I am a con man, it does not matter. What matters is, if somebody is being influenced by a wrong movement, by a wrong thought, harm is equal. Whether I am a con man or I brainwashed myself to believe the existence of certain state which is good for you, it is the same misgivings that is being given to the victim.
But
that's my question.
But apparently these guys don't suffer anymore.
No. I am not talking about his suffering. He is enjoying the benefit of it selling.
They are producing apparently other so-called people who see that and also go beyond or out of suffering.
Look, how many people...
But my feeling is, as you said, it is still a closed loop.
It is not just a closed loop.
Which gives you...
The very idea of an existence of that is a seed for suffering.
Existence of what?
Of that. There is
that,
something.
Yes.
Is a seed that perpetuates your suffering.
But they seem to have...
It seems to have, because they are lying through their teeth.
I don't know. Do they? They seem to be very confident.
Scientist is confident, the rock singer is confident, the politicians are more confident because they have power.
Yeah, but if you press another button, they suffer, no? And with these guys, they don't seem to.
It is not suffering, suffering is different.
I'm not talking about physical
No. The suffering that causes what we have in our brain is called empathy cell. Okay, it's called mirror cell. If I see somebody getting hurt, it produces sensation inside the body. It is a must thing.
Definitely.
If it is not, he's lying, or he brainwashed himself to believe not to see these things. It's a religious thing, and it's an ulterior state which is nothing to do with the functionality of life itself. It's nothing to do. It's like, okay, I'm in an Advaita state, do my heart surgery. Bullshit.
No, of course not. I mean, that is also not what he's saying.
See, because the thought can project, so the projection of not suffering can be projected in any different direction. The only thing that can happen to a person is the non-existing of an authority who knows about the thing that is going on there inside the body, which is a truth statement.
Well, it seems they have seen that there is no person there.
It is not possible to see.
No individual.
It is not possible to see.
Okay, it is just a manner of speaking. They have, I don't know, something has simply shifted now, which is this illusion of a separate entity has
to me
moved out. No?
To me, that creates a lot of suffering to others. I feel that way. To show that there is something that you can do to get what they pretend to be enjoying is caused a lot more suffering than...
Well, there seems to be a kind of investigation now to really look and see, is there a meaning?
All right, now I am ready to hear.
Yeah.
If it is an investigation, how do you investigate? Where is the investigation? It has to compare with whom? That is an assumption. That what you see in front of you is an assumption.
Well, Guha, you can look in a way and look if you find anything permanent here, no?
There is nothing permanent.
Yeah, exactly. So this is already an investigation, no?
Yeah. So I'm telling how you investigate yourself and your state with an assumption that there is some other state is possible that you are not.
Yeah, that's not possible, no?
So what is that you are investigating? Whom are you investigating? You are investigating through an introspection.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You are investigating through an introspection. So what is that introspection is comparing it with? an assumption, an idea.
Of course.
And what it is comparing with is also another idea about your conception about the way you are functioning. You are functioning certain way.
Yeah, but that's the only way or tool we have to do
So
stuff.
What is the process going on there? Do you see what's the process going on? How you identify a state that you are in. Only thing will bother you if you have a conflict. Otherwise, you will not bother to find out when you are walking which state you are in.
Yes, definitely. We only do it because there is a suffering, no?
Because you have accepted an idea of a state that is valid, an idea of another state that you are in. So you are comparing two fictitious things.
And
obviously you perpetuate the conflict.
Yes, definitely.
So accepting a state as a valid and true, what is the meaning of it to the one that he is investigating inside? That is the question you have to ask. What the fuck I am comparing myself with? What is Peter is a state of knowledge that is given to us. All this stuff, that non-duality, I am, questioning mechanism, who am I, all these things are produced, a set of information, I am thinking it as valid and true, and then I am comparing myself as someone who does not have that, and both are elusive, both are fictitious, both are completely useless mental game that we are playing with ourselves.
I'm totally with you. Yeah, sure. It's
because you will understand what I'm saying, because you have been trying so much. So you have to question the very process through which I am doing this. Accepting a state through my imagination is an imaginary state called that.
Yes.
That's only in the field of duality. It's called imagination, that which you can imagine. Even the word T-H-A-T. No matter what you put the attributes at.
But Guha, it seems to bring a lot of peace and happiness to some people, this kind of stuff, no?
So, why don't you ask yourself?
It doesn't seem to work here.
No, it is not working. No,
But then why does it work?
No. You are not looking at yourself at all, the source of your unhappiness. You are not looking at it.
Yes.
You are never given botheration what Peter really wants and unhappy with. It is the assumption that Peter should be like that, possessing of something else that has been brainwashed by the circumstances for you to believe, because you are in Pondicherry, there are circumstances made you believe certain things, and you are after that particular thing that you have assumed as true and valid, and through that you projected those bastards sitting and talking, and they are in a peaceful, harmonious state. All these things put together a permanent elusive state in you, after which you are running and making yourself miserable, not giving importance to something that is vital and functioning.
Which is
you, your body.
Yeah, beautiful. Great.
Which is nowhere else. It is inside you.
Yes.
Look, the word, the meaning of the word that we have been bombarded from the childhood, that Nisargadatta, Ramana Maharshi is a part of that vocabulary and created a sensation inside you. That total information bank is what is functioning inside you, and through your retrievable capacity of imagination. Nothing where else. So, who is the one who is doing that? Where is the word called that man is talking about? Where is the word, that image of Ramana Maharshi or Nisargadatta Maharaj is there and processing? It is in that head.
Yes.
It is there.
Yes.
And created an artificial, what you call is authority. That sense of imagination has created an artificial authority in that brain called Peter, who is enslaving this body, running it after something that it believed. Peter, not anybody else. Peter is a projection of that belief structure. Peter does not exist other than what this physical body has to get it for its survival, procreation, face the challenges of the society. Anything that it imagines as a valid and truth and runs after it is the violation for this. It is all Peter's idea of a perfect state that is taking this body to run after something that does not exist other than in the imagination. It's all exists in your capacity of imagination, nowhere else. If that knocks out, Peter is not going to give a shit about the whole vocabulary and its attribution to where it's creating a drive. That information center that has been there right from the beginning has been always bombarded by various information to make it tip from the balance that creates an additional demand in the body that it is suffering from. That desire to become detached is also a desire.
Yeah.
Peter is better than those guys in many senses. It can perform a job better than many other those guys. It never gave importance to that, which is vital. Important. They gave importance to the wrong thing, the idea of a peaceful, harmonious, problem-free man. That is such a bullshit thing that drives the humanity like animals. That one guy is sitting in a rock somewhere in Mecca, one guy sitting on a rock in Pope, they're driving the masses to misery and create two polarized factors which are using human body worse than insect. When they kill each other, all this religious fight, all this everything, when they struggle to each other, the war is only caused by ideas.
Sure.
The superiority, the sense of superiority of my belief that how I should be, accepting that and imposing that on somebody else, that my knowledge is right knowledge, my God is the most powerful God, my sense of Advaita is the only solution for the humanity. These are the sources and the foundation through which I create a war myself. When I can beat that war, I convinced myself that this idea is superior and run after that. Whoever talks like that, I go up and listen to them to enforce just the way that they have to every week go and listen to the Jesus Christ.
But Guha, this stuff is all on kind of autopilot, no? There's nobody really doing all that. It seems to have its own momentum, no?
Yeah, let it go.
It's not something
Let it go. Are you going to organize, bring the humanity in the right path?
Oh, I don't know what is the right path.
So, then it is not a problem for you.
No clue what is the right path.
It's not a problem for you. You are avoiding your problem by looking at outside who are peaceful, who is not peaceful, who is in that state, who is not that state. You never give importance what Peter is accepting as valid and true and what is important for itself. Maybe Peter is a really peaceful person.
No, good Lord. Good Lord.
I am telling, minus those terrible ideas. But the concept of peace, concept of niceness, these are concepts that forces one to behave the way he and she is not. It makes us false. It just gives us constant drive to achieve something, to be somebody. Of course this is not, otherwise there is no struggle. You automatically go through the rhythm and resonate, that's it.
Yeah, of course, but the struggle is there, no?
The struggle
seems
the struggle is not built in. Struggle has been imposed. That is the only conditioning that is valid. Like if there is a childhood memory, continuously drive me to function certain way. For this system, it is always there trying to delete those memory out. But somehow I have my capacity, my brand, and regurgitate this to keep it going longer than the body is trying to throw it out. All dreams, everything is a process in which the body tries to clean the memory of the computer, cleans the local memory for that to function properly. If you so much think, at the end of the day, you can't think anymore. You just sleep.
It overheats.
Yeah. So what it does is this movement that inside the body has to clear up the total functional local memory so that whatever is not right for you, it should identify and make itself one step ahead of the problem. That's how it wants to function. It wants to be very sensitive to everything around, not a closed circuit. That's what they're trying to teach you. This physical body, if it is not sensitive to everything, its surroundings, it's in danger. That's exactly opposite to the way the life inside you wants to function. It's not exactly opposite to this idea-induced cover up state where you don't mix with anybody other than only people there in the same. It's like a smoking marijuana, you know.
But still, Guha, it's a difference if I talk now to you.
It doesn't matter.
Or to
anybody. It is ultimately it is Peter
who is giving it the validity.
Who is giving the validity and the momentum through its belief structure. The belief structure is the one that Peter has to identify. All the thing that is accepted as valid and true and giving importance to it itself creates a perpetual movement.
But you guys also hang out together, no? The people who were around you.
See, you are projecting.
Well, it seems
no,
to
what
be
I'm telling is,
no?
what I'm telling is, you are projecting. You are already assuming that what a person will be doing, right?
Oh, okay, right.
And you are pointing out to me what I should be doing.
No. That was not my intention.
No, not intention. This is the way the mind functions.
Okay.
Right? You will project. What am I supposed to do? What anybody is supposed to do? I have daughter, I have family, I have to be somewhere. Like I am here. Some other time I will be somewhere else. I have to, if somebody comes, I have to talk. So it's always like that. What am I supposed to do? I'm not telling anybody to do anything. I am not even giving a proper information to you that is going to lead you to somewhere. I'm just telling information that you already have. You are not sorting them out. What created Peter to feel that some more information or some more association, some more movement is necessary for it to find a peace? What I'm saying is that you are not doing what it is supposed to be doing to sort out already existed information and throw them out, which is not important and valid. Peter is attached to certain ideas and give too much importance to it, and to me, it's the worst drug.
Yeah, totally. But you're saying all that, and I totally agree, but it doesn't seem to make any difference, no?
No, that's the whole point. Like, there are two things that since we have this capacity that seems to make some movements of something that is not possible to understand and something that through understanding makes more information. There are two things, very important two things. One is something that inhibits the process which gathers information. The other is sorting out the information.
Sorting out means?
Sorting out, like you have the memory bank through which you are accessing it and finding it, what is good, what is bad. Or you have a problem and you are thinking, because this is how we have been practiced, the only way I can solve this problem if I have more adequate information. That's the normal mental movement. So to understand these normal movements, that one which gathers information is a movement different from one which tries to see that the information gathering is a futile exercise.
But one seems to constantly interfere with the other, no?
Because the informations are weighing inside you and created a conflict. Some information which has been convinced by what we call Peter is nothing. Peter is no different from the information itself.
Yes.
There's no other thing than the movement of thought creates the thinker. There is nothing else is there. It is the information processing which gives an apparent feeling that there is somebody called Peter. Actually, it is just the information movement. So the information has created inside the brain a movement, the constant disposition, and that is always keeping the balance. As when you are not hungry, you are not supposed to be worried about food. So that balance, this information, the conflicting information, what Peter thinks about himself and what Peter wants to be, are always keeping off the balance, therefore creating a sense of desire to move itself to a place where it can have sense of information and stability that Peter will match its imaginary state to what it wants to be. And it never be true because it's all in the illusion.
It's an idea.
It's a total an idea. So when that is completely grounded, in the functional aspect of the futility of it, it's like some dream came to you, probably very flaky dream, get up and don't even remember. It's like that. The information that the brain, in its process of refining itself so that it becomes more functional, throws that out, so it just doesn't have any impact anymore. It's like some German language you never forget. But you have so many names in your childhood friend. Does it make any impact on your system? No. It's like that. Those ideas which were there and get a lot of energy by a drive called Peter will lose its infesting nature to itself. And that is the only lightness that this system wants. Nothing else it really wants. It wants to sort out the information that is creating a stress, a movement which is not in the field of life which is important for Peter to supply. So to do that, your body is always working in excess. Like your lung and heart system makes a lot of oxygen available to your blood, which goes to the brain and feeds those circuits, because without the oxygen, the brain is not going to work. So 25 to 30% is taken away by this incessant tipping of balance of information, which is called the desire. Because the desire will not find its way when you know that those are all figment of your imagination itself. It does not have existence other than in your imagination. So what will happen? It will lose its ground. It just doesn't have a substance to it. So it's like shedding weight all the time, That's the only good thing I saw in literature of U.G. Krishnamurti. There is that strange impact. That which we have accepted as truth and valid has a different focus. It is highlighting something which is valid, which is functional, and which is very vital. Giving importance to that, then the imaginary aspect of your idea-induced projection of something that you don't know, nobody knows, they talk all the time about. And they say it is beyond knowledge.
But then what you just described, it seems that some of these guys got it also like that, no?
See, that has to knock out from inside.
Because I can't really say.
You can't say.
Just
it doesn't matter how many Buddhas were created.
Yes.
It doesn't matter to Peter.
That thing works. It's true what you say. The only thing he's interested in is to just live and
no, don't project. Don't project what you would do, how you should live. Don't do that. By not doing that, you will begin to live the way which is most appropriate to itself. If you project, you are still pushing. As if I am making something understandable to you and you created a path. No, I did not do that whatsoever. There is no understanding. Understanding is an impediment. It is, again, understanding is creating an idea and strengthening that idea for Peter to perpetuate.
Yeah, but how to stop that?
You don't stop. You don't ask that question.
Yeah, but it comes up.
It comes up. Then what do you do? What is the response? Any answer that you give is hitting a dead end.
Yeah.
It's not addressing the problem. The problem is created by our desire to solve a problem shortcut. In the childhood, they told us I should be like Einstein because my parents are from a very educated family. I should listen to some great music maestros. Depending on the culture, or maybe Lord Krishna or Buddha or Tagore or something, or Aurobindo, something like that. They created those imageries inside my head and my drive was always towards that direction. So not knowing that I have created a larger than life image of something which I have no idea what they were, other than I convinced myself an existence of a state which solved all the problems of life, or worshipped by humanity because they are great thinkers, great philosophers, great scientists or something or other, not knowing that what this system is really wanting to do. And whatever I am going to project itself is also a kind of idea that I am creating about myself. It's only then it is not perpetually push you into becoming something or achieving some state. That what you are projecting is only perpetuating itself through ideas. Then you will begin to see how the movements of life can be coined by ideas. You will see it is impossible.
Oh yeah.
So if it is impossible, why you buy any idea? That's not mimicking life at all.
Yeah.
Not at all. just the way you sit, 99% is in automation. Why do I accept somebody is in a state which mimics life that is beating here?
It's part of the conditioning, I guess.
Yes. It is the momentum that has robbed this organized frame into a perpetuating movement that has something where there is no problem. There is no such thing as problem-free life.
It would have been more practical if it would have been put in that I should become a millionaire or something.
Sure, or a rock star.
It would be great to have a few millions.
Yuji says, we have created this society, and to overcome the challenges that society gives us, you need two things. One, good health, and the second is money.
Yes.
Relationship is a very shallow game.
Definitely.
So this money is all about the accessing certain things for myself, which is been created by the social need. I can't walk from here to here without a passport. There is a boundary line between two countries. Everything is possessed by human culture, even the moon. So I have no choice. That's the no way out. Like, you have no choice, but at the same time, you have no choice, but you also have the tools that is necessary to overcome this challenge.
Yes.
Because the society is not a disjoint thing. Just because there is a computer, that means there will be a lot of brains which will understand this computer.
Yes.
Together creates it. That which is there and that which is feeling what is there, they are creating together this sense of technology, advancement, philosophy, everything. They are all going together. So your brain, right from the childhood, has come here because your ancestors have struggled for centuries to be somebody who is going to stand up on its feet and accept the challenge that will come to it and overcome the challenge and live a decent, balanced life. That's how the life won. That's why you also were born with those capacities. That's the talent. And only use of the talent is to use it to overcome the challenge that comes to us. And we have seen that 95% of that challenge is translated into money.
Yes.
And there is some other emotional stuff which comes through relationship. And the relationship is also a game. It's a social dynamic. What one gets from the other guy.
No, definitely. But you see, there are also all these dynamics of some people, some people have to really work hard to get money, and for some it just falls in.
So what I'm
like
telling
my
you,
friendship.
wait.
You see,
Here is the most important thing. Is that a question that I should answer to make myself smart enough to overcome the problem? Or it's just a mental justification? Which one is it? That somebody is already lucky enough to have money and having a good life, and me not lucky enough to have any money and living on other people's courtesy, So what would be the relevance of such a question?
No relevance.
No relevance at all. It is not going to solve the problem that you are facing.
Not at all.
So it's an irrelevant questioning.
So we can drop it.
Absolutely. Who the hell cares what I was in the last life? Can I ever know? Can I find out whether my father was rich? I can go and ask him, hey, last life you were my father. Give me money now. Can I do that? No.
No, it doesn't work like that.
It doesn't work. Why then I exercise my brain to convince people what I was in my past life? These are all mental speculation. It does not solve any problem at all.
Sure. But don't you think
it's a wastage of energy?
There's also something, like you said, of course you need a passport to move.
Yes.
And you need visas, and you need this and that. But don't you think that, that is in a way the experience here, that actually when a need really arises, it is also fulfilled.
When the need arises, if it is fulfilled, if that is completely functional, the worries of future says goodbye. Forever, it is not functional. That's why it relates.
Yeah, because the mind comes in and says, okay, it worked like that, but in future it might not work.
So that means it is still not sure that it works like that.
Yes.
So it wants to invest.
Yes.
So what the worries is perpetuating is the same conflict. You are not sure about the thing that functions.
Yes.
You are not sure that you have some power which overcomes the difficulties. You are not sure. If you were sure,
that wouldn't arise, of course.
This question of my friend is lucky, I am not, has no place.
Unsatisfying.
It's just, I feel myself so lucky all the time.
No.
Questioning mechanism said goodbye because first of all, I will not know what the future is going to be.
Yeah, no way.
And if after 5 years or 2 years or 3 months, if I have a cancer, what I will do, that's not a proposition here at all. I will see then. Not now. What for?
But then you see, one has, in this life, you have to make, apparently you have to make decisions, no? There are things coming up and often these decisions, at least that's how it works here.
I understand.
They seem to be in conflict, no?
Yes, that
because
is...
there is not just black and white, okay? Maybe some...
The black and white, the question of black and white comes only when you propose an artificial problem and propose an artificial solution.
Absolutely.
But when you take it, that's a reality that you face. For example, what I will do if I face certain situation, imagining that, I will imagine a proposed solution which is also imaginary. I may not do any such things when I really face the situation.
Yes,
So why do I unnecessarily waste my energy by speculation? I don't function that way because I found it's a total exercise in futility.
Yes, it is. Yeah, but there seemed to be some solidity here with you, which erased all that.
Not solidity, but one thing I know.
I totally agree with you, but there is not this solidity.
One thing I know is that this is a capacity that this body has. You too.
Sure.
That's what. This body has the capacity to bring about a movement of thinking in where it is active. You are not going to jump out to a place that you are not going to cross.
In accordance with what is?
Yeah.
Only that.
So you are not going to propose something that I'm going to do this in future, knowing that that's a total figment of my imagination.
But you have to plan, Guha. For instance, me now, I'm sitting here, but for instance, I have to get maybe a flat somewhere, so I have to make a contract. I have to make dates.
Exactly. These are
things society.
These are the functional aspects of our living that we are forced to accept.
Yes.
And there is nothing outside that. That I have to be like a non-dual state that my existence will solve all the problems. They are not in the same frame.
Yes.
This is something that you have to solve realistically. And you will do it if the existence of other has no impact whatsoever inside you. You will do much better job.
Definitely, yeah.
It is that is coming in the way of your functioning like a perfect social machine.
And kind of paralyzes you.
Yes! All the depression, all the inspiration that you have been so accustomed to does not give importance to this social need. But this is the most important thing.
Exactly.
So
because that is functioning all the time.
That is all the time functioning. You cannot live in a room without giving them rent. They are going to evict you. They have power. You have to accept the reality as it is imposed by the society on us. Accepting that is the beginning of intelligence. But you cannot deny it.
No, you cannot deny it. But
where can you stay other than fooling people?
But Guha, at the same time, there are often things functioning out of this.
What is functioning out of this? That's what you got to say.
Yeah, like suddenly things fall, like suddenly things are happening, no, not within this context.
So then these are not a product of your thought structure at all.
No, exactly. They are totally out of that. No?
If it is out of that, then why do you bother? Where are you going to stay tomorrow?
Because there is still this kind of doubt that...
See, so they are still... See, that's the thing. But to me, that belief that where it is coming from, if it is so functional, you will live in a different life.
Yes.
See, that you have a capacity. That which is coming in your rescue to lead a life is not functioning in the framework of your thinking. That's outside. You don't create that out of your thought.
No.
You know that. But still, thoughts are habitual. It is going on. The thought that is there to solve a particular problem, you have to only look at through thought. The other thing that comes handy for you is not in the field of thought at all. Your thought structure is not going to bother about that.
Yes.
But the transition that is most important, and that will come handy for your rescue. If it is that functional, the thought will say goodbye, because thought is not doing that. Thought is not bringing that in. Thought is not doing anything of that thing. Thought is only thinking about how I'm going to pay my rent. So if you are not worried about your rent, you don't know where you are going to stay tomorrow, and you're not using your thought at all. Because that which is coming in handy for you to rescue from all this debt is going to take over. And if you think so.
If you let it be.
If you let it be, in a sense, you is a product of thinking.
Yes.
That is not.
Yes.
Then what is there to think about?
Yeah, nothing.
So,
but thinking happens nevertheless.
Thinking happens because these are still problems.
Yes, yes. So would you say that you are in a thought-free state?
No, but if anybody says that, is a bloody fool. I have to use my thought to access my information.
Yes.
How do I access my information? How do I talk to you without using thought? It's such a stupid idea. People, they are in a thoughtless state. You sleep in deep sleep, sleep in a thoughtless state. Anyway, body goes to, what is the big deal about achieving that? What do you do with that? Nothing. You fool people that you are in a thoughtless state. If you are not honest, if you are gullible, then you can bring money by telling people that you are in a thoughtless state. You get good treatment from the gullible people.
You have all kinds of powers.
Power of a human is only through other human beings. One guy, no matter how powerful it is, if he does not use another human being, he has zero power.
Yes.
It is the power that is gathered by using the human species. There is no power outside of that. There is no power that is outside of you and me. I can use my power. If I can use 100 Peter like that, they will listen to me. I can use them and show my power. Outside of that, there is nothing.
Yeah, definitely.
No power outside human.
Yeah. None of these gurus would have existence.
Nobody, no God will exist on this planet. No cross, no nothing. It's the human mind that accepts certain thing and valid and truth and propagate. That is the source of power. My being a king has no power unless I am given the thorn and which obeys by all the people.
But don't you think it's just one movement? There is no separation there, no?
Why do you exercise such a thing? By understanding that, what will you do?
That the king comes with his followers already, no? It's already made, no?
Yeah, but why do you think in that way? What are you going to use the other human being to achieve certain objective?
Always. That's always happening.
No, but are you?
No, I don't want to have
so.
But there is constant in the action, no?
The constant in the action, when it comes to you and your friends, then what are the actions that will take place inside you and your friend that will separate these as a valid information inside you? That's what I'm saying. Are you thinking about the social reform? Are you thinking about educating the human species to take them out of this miserable situation? If you are thinking along that line, then you should work your way out. You should work what is good for human species, what you think is right for human species, what is the problem that human thinking is producing that perpetuates the conflict, perpetuates the war, perpetuates the human exploitation, perpetuates this using the hundreds of human beings as an animal and gets one guy to live like that. If that is a real issue here, you will not waste 1 second of time. Take your pen, paper, and start writing. It's like that. It is still, you are not still convinced that what you are going to propose is going to be a solution for the future of human species.
Yeah, because there is no solution. No?
If there is no solution, where is the thought?
Yeah,
it's a useless entity that is producing and useless speculation.
Exactly. Yeah. So we are constantly trap ourselves now with all kinds of self-perpetuating movement.
Your reflecting power will show you all the time what is the problem that is springing up inside that creates a sense of justification and movement. You yourself, what is that really Peter wants? Is the foundational question. Peter cannot want something without convince itself a superiority of a position that Peter should be compared to where Peter is.
Yes.
So examining those things appropriately will stop that illusory movement that produces the energy loss. because that energy may vibrate something inside which brings about an appropriate solution and optimal functioning. That's all. That's all is there. You can never be anybody other than you.
Yes.
His nose, ear has been here because of the million years of tinkering through a particular situation that all your ancestors have gone through.
Yeah.
And the brain is created out of that too.
Yeah.
So Peter is a marvelous creation of nature. Only thing is that it was brainwashed to believe that something else is better.
That's the point. That's the crux of the problem, the brainwash. And it goes
on and on in your sleep, in your dream, in your discussion, and you find yourself involved with people who discusses about these things everlastingly.
Exactly, it perpetuates itself. And it creates nice feelings between
people.
The
feeling is like this. We have accustomed ourselves to a set of information that is created by social justification and appeal to us in a different way. You see, the brain people have done a lot of research. When a guy in Japan poses, the mental movement that goes into his brain has involved a lot of glandular movements, which normally gives a feeling of piety and high. The same thing happens to a guy in America when he wins a tournament. So you see, it's the information.
It's a very
strong. And there is no sense of guilt is involved. But the guy in India who have sex, he has the movement but parallel guilt.
Yes.
So it conflicts. It makes a mess to that poor guy's mind. If it is a girl, even worse. Imagine about the Muslim girl. If she also wants to be attracted by a man, that's natural. And his hormone is raising inside her body. So if she is somehow being attracted, information world is telling it's a death. It's a
tremendous conflict.
Tremendous conflict.
And it's all conditioning.
It's all conditioning, depending on the society. So, what gives you good feeling is the living inside the Pondicherry.
Well, let's stop that.
So, like that, but
it's shocking, Guha, to see that what keeps you going, often it's just a belief. There's nothing in it. It's just a proverb, no? Like there's this stage and you think, oh, that's it, and you open this door and there's just nothing there.
Exactly, there is nothing there.
It's shocking.
It is only residing in the field of imagination.
Yes.
And imagination is sustained by belief.
Yes. So what is there, really?
You will find out.
Do I?
Yes, that these are all poppycock bullshitting arrangement that human beings are creating from the beginning.
Yeah, but then what is really there?
No, that's why I'm telling. That question will not be there because because that which is asking, in absence of that movement, those questions become relevant. So the answers are obviously not there. Answers are created. You don't think Yuji Krishnamurti is a deep thinker. And his thinking has found a substance because he had some unshakable experiences, which you also can experience. It is possible. When a woman becomes pregnant, when she delivers a baby, it's an enormous pain. It's not pain or pressure. It is when something like that begins to unfold, which uproots the information which is sitting in your visceral, cellular level. It's a tremendous, powerful shaking. And when that begins to unfold inside you, that myth-making structure which creates that figures and imaginations are all figment of imagination as much as it is invalid here. And as soon as it is invalid here, the authority that was there inside it through that images loses its ground. There is no authority there. It's a part of nature. You say that, but it's not functional. So that authority has to find its dead end inside. And if you carry your load all the time, the tree cannot flower into its natural power and sensitivity, and that you don't need to know anything to walk properly. And everything in human existence is like that. It's the idea that something is bigger than me, something is more superior, I have to achieve it, is the one that cripples me, that forces me to use my imagination. I can use my imagination to count the numbers, because that is necessary. That's why I have to count my bank balance. When I go to a shop, I have to talk properly. That's where I use my imagination, because all these things are created through my imagination. Why should I use something where it has no validity at all, which inhibits me to feel the power that I have inside me, which sustains itself? Power that gives Peter a proper perspective, not to be taken away by anything else ever again. Power that will take Peter not giving one step, which will end up in an imaginary mess itself and to others. But it doesn't matter. You don't have to justify anything. You will not make a move. You means Peter has seen all the dead ends. It's futile. It's total futility. It's the falseness. It's the fear. Somebody is telling, oh, this is so good. You know, these Christian people, they pull the Hindus and told that how they removed the demon of God from them and Christ. Whole thing is a propaganda machine. All religious belief, all spiritual gimmick, everything. Denying you from the very power that is working here by the intelligent power of life from the beginning of time. Because otherwise they cannot use it.
Yeah.
If I am useful to somebody, that means I have to get my proper share. I am different from, that's it. It does not say I'm superior than him. Yes, if I have to run with somebody, you define 10 seconds who runs faster, he gets a prize. That's it. It's a capacity. Like that. Somebody talks well, somebody paints well, somebody plays music. And I always see that as the attributes of nature.
Yes.
As a human capacity. They just flower in particular direction.
Yes.
Does not give me any good or bad feeling that I am not so. It is a small fragment of the part that is working here, is also working there, makes it like that. It's like another flower, another flower. I tell rose is the best, the grass flower, you can cut it and throw. But nature doesn't do that.
No.
Why do I exercise my imagination that way and making myself feel inferior, useless, worthless, and that guy who is sitting there and talking, get appalled. Let him get. All I need, my proper food, clothes and shelter, and nothing else. And if I have power, power means talent. If I have talent, and if this society recognizes that talent, and if I get something more, I'll see what happens. It is a simple game that human beings are playing.
Yes.
Relationship games are also
Yes.
same thing, Peter.
Yes. Definitely. But it seems all we have, no?
That's all you have. That's all you have as 1% of the functional aspect of memory which retrieves. It's all in that. So if you give importance to that 1% and be completely drugged by that, that's your choice.
Is it a choice?
It is. Seeing right thing as right brings the right choice from inside. So if you don't see that you and the other human being are not much different as far as functionality is, you will first bend yourself to believe that you are in a superior state.
Or
so
inferior.
Or vice versa. So you will do accordingly. You will sit in the power, because it's the social dynamics. We have been seeing that if somebody is sitting on a dais and giving lecture, and a lot of people sitting down, and that created a dynamics inside us that we want to be like either this or that. Some movements are there. So without our knowledge, we created that kind of aspirations. And it comes from the false knowledge. That's what I'm telling. That if the knowledge that is there inappropriate will terminate the seeking more knowledge to justify something which is wrong. Why do I have to go on gathering information to see whether the non-duality is superior than the Christianity? Same way the Christian scholars are going to do that.
But Guha, there is a certain, you can say that with certain things there's a resonance happening, something where I, like sitting here now, no?
Yeah. That's a part of life.
Yeah.
That's it. Why you will form a belief structure out of that. That gives a disposition where you are again running after an idea. We go in the walks of life, we meet people, some people appear to be very honest, truthful to themselves, and some other people are brainwashed themselves to believe, and some are so myopic, narcissistic that you don't feel like even talking 1 second. That's the nature, that's the variety.
Yes.
So be it. Why should I form a particular opinion, point of faith, point of belief, and belief structure and go about that? If I don't do, probably this life, if there is any drive to it, will move in its own way. It's like a river, starts from the mountain top, never goes straight. Why does it move that way? Because whenever it feels a difficulty, it changes its course and then it moves. So if you live it that way, that aspect that thought didn't bring out will take its toll or take its own justification. I am me who find out the causality is not going to be concerned about it. That's it. It goes in its own way. So my thought is there to overcome the problem that this social structure is imposing on me. That you need a plane ticket to go from here to somewhere.
Yes.
You have to generate that money. Like that. But if you don't need to go anywhere, then you don't need to buy a plane ticket. So it all depends. My question is, somebody is telling me that he or she really wants to spend some time with me, but they don't have money. What am I supposed to say? Kick everybody's ass and earn money. If this is what is important.
Exactly. Yeah, but it takes care of itself, no?
Exactly, it should.
Because if this
it is not a thought.
Yeah,
it's not a thought. See, we always put that thing. My thought-induced movement that creates a future is false and elusive. I don't want to see and believe it.
Yes, it's the same. Because it creates such a
happy feeling.
Yeah,
the hope creates a tremendous disposition in human body.
Or even the suffering, whatever, it doesn't matter really, no?
It doesn't matter. You overcome the suffering with a hope.
Yes.
But what I'm saying is that when there is no way out, for example, there was society when there were slaves. They had no choice. They were tied up, beaten to work their ass off.
It's still happening, no?
It's still happening. We are slaves of our ideas, by the way. It is this 1% which is slaving this guy. Doesn't want to believe that.
No.
It justifies, because it's a very intelligent process, because it came towards the end of the evolution.
It creates constantly
Justification that will rob off.
And it seems so real.
The action, yeah.
It seems so real.
It is. The reality that Peter and Guha is conceiving is the reality that comes through imagination and thinking.
Yes.
So it's a part of that process. I can sit here with you, read about Ramana and feel good. It's all in the field of imagination.
Yes.
Nothing to do with the way the life is beating inside us or the problem that we will face in our life as it moves along, with relationship with friends, with families, with education, with everything that we are going to. It's nothing to do with that. So you see, our investment of imaginary field, it's actually an entertainment. When you have nothing else to do, you entertain yourself.
Yes. Well, something. You have to do something. No?
Yeah. This is a part of the entertainment. There is nothing wrong until it robs off and takes you to a context where you become totally invest all your energy after an imaginary aspect. And those people, those who are telling this, actually started with the difference between reality and illusion. Their whole idea about hitting a reality inside you which can identifies and reject the sense of illusion. What you are doing, in fact, is opposite to what they were asking you to do in the beginning. What they're doing is to make you live in a complete imaginary fictitious world, forgetting about the reality of your existence.
Reality of existence means
that you will not know. You're not exercising that. You are exercising a state that is in that.
Yes, in the head.
In the head and imagination.
And trying to reach imaginary
state. It's a very, very peculiar dynamics. Dynamics is that the more we exchange the information to establish the validity of that state, the more we are using the intellect to justify all the movements that we have towards that state. So everything is in imagination.
Yes.
And every justification that I am creating is also in the field of imagination.
Yes.
And so much so that we will disregard the physical pain, physical suffering, physical necessity. That's why I give the example, say you are in a prison, you are just completely prison, you have been whipped every day. But somehow if you can imagine yourself as suffered like Jesus, maybe you can relieve certain pain, you can bear that, okay, I am in the state of Jesus, he was suffered so much. You can think yourself and try to relieve of your pain. That's not a desirable situation. That's not living, that's not sensitivity, that's not the way the system wants to live. That's what I think. If you don't think, that's up to you.
But there seem to be accounts of people who have been in prison and they have seen that, and that suddenly the prison was transformed in
No, it's all in imagination.
Sri Aurobindo was
I know, it's all in imagination.
There was Brahman, no?
He lived half of his life. Strange image. But the thing is that there is a definite effect. Suppose if somehow through that imagination you can reduce all the stress inside you, there can be a situation where the body will gain some energy because it is the stress.
Yes.
Body's stress is not even to imbibe the imagination, body still feels stress. The only imagination that body will not feel any stress is if you put yourself in a total not knowing situation, because there is no movement.
But you cannot put yourself into that.
That's why you can't. So
that's why they always speak about grace, no?
Yeah, only grace is if you have no conflict inside.
But that you also cannot bring about.
No, you cannot bring about. You as you know yourself, if it functions according to the need of the physical existence, then there is no conflict. It is the imaginary drive
which creates
that creates a conflict.
Definitely.
So what suits you is a discovery of yourself.
No, but what does it mean, discovery of myself?
No, discovery of yourself means what suits
this particular
your disposition to bring it to a place where you are not creating any conflict within. I see there is something which cannot function the way the imagination of that is creating a disposition, creating a conflicting less disposition inside. Because this is much more based on the reality of its own existence. This system will function best by disregarding all these things that the imagination has produced as a reality.
But it's not something you can just drop and
no, it is not you are dropping.
Exactly.
It is the identification of the separation that creates an imagination. As we continuously, I don't want to give a theory to it, but what I am trying to say is that which is a beaten track, I'm not going there. In a sense, going means not walking here, not giving life to the thought that creates a projected state. In the beginning, you can't do that because you will see the thought only when it comes through the process. But by disregarding that, you give the physical body a power that it will begin to reject it even before it arises.
Okay.
Or it will throw you as a shade or something that does not have power on it. So in doing so, this physical body gains some mechanism. There is a mechanism. Your glands are tied up with the switches, and your brain has different centers which has nucleus. Nucleus is something that is very innate. Innate in the sense, by many times going information and coming back, it normally tends to make it functional the way it suits to its particular frame where the energy is optimized, like energy loss is optimized. So what it is going to do is it needs some trigger that allows it to function the way it will not creating a pressure or stress. So it is just the functioning of thought cannot sustain unless there is a motivator which continuously feed energy. That is the
but where is this motivator?
The motivator is residing as an information center, but the information center doesn't exist unless there is no conflicting information.
But this is all seems to be all the way you describe the mechanical process.
It's just the mechanical process.
There is no ghost in this machine who pulls the lever.
No, that's why. So, for example, this machine can be taken to a ride by inappropriate circuitry.
Yes.
But what I'm telling is, this machine also has a powerful living mechanism which constantly trying to repair those circuits, which keeps the balance off. So by constantly giving life to the thought that tips the information center to make you feel that there is a will generator, there is Peter who has some purpose and wants to be this, wants to be that. That balance, this body doesn't want to tip off, to generate excess energy for that. When this excess of energy drain is reduced, the body begins to become powerful internally, not muscle. Internally. When it becomes powerful, it's like a ultraviolet, the optical cells, which is sensitive to ultraviolet light. So they are like that. There are triggering mechanisms. Those triggering can happen only when they resonate with a particular frequency. For example, there are some photovoltaic cell. Unless you put a lot of ultraviolet radiation, its electricity will not begin. No matter how much you flood this information with infrared and other radiations, nothing will happen to those cells. As soon as even few photons of ultraviolet radiation hits it, it begins to set in motion some electricity into those cells. So like that, there is this physical existence, there is some triggering mechanism which it needs to trigger only when it is in a situation where the energy drainage is optimized. The drainage of energy that is perpetually going on by the conflicting thinking is making those glands not activate strong enough to abet the process of thinking and cut it in discrimination filter before it arises. What I'm saying is this body has all this intelligence right there inside, and they're continuously trying to make you drain less energy. It tries to reduce the conflict. It tries to make you feel that what you are running after is the ideal satisfaction. However, you have to protect yourself. You have to make yourself one step ahead of the problem. Now we have one access problem. That's the society. So how much you need to keep yourself healthy is what you can decide. Nobody else can, depending on your mental disposition. Accordingly, you will decide, and then the movement that was going on to be somebody, to get attain to state, these are all movements that is inappropriate, the movement that it is very deserious of, that it wants to trigger something which takes those things off. How it will happen, that's not known. It's not how. The possibility enhances if the conflict decreases. And the conflict will decrease only when it hits the dead end again and again, when it identifies that this movement is creating an endless merry-go-round which has no end. That is the true helplessness. The true helplessness is somewhere you begin to understand that anything that you think or do is not addressing its proper well-being. That is a statement. The statement.
But you see, this movement is so deceptive, so subtle, and so has such a momentum behind it. It seems constantly to, at least that's what I see, elude you, because it's constantly shape-shifting.
Yes. So that's why what happens is that once you completely out of the loop is loop of self, God, self-realization, nirvana, the same loop gets a justification of the importance of organic food, importance of this, importance of that, you have to take care of body. The same movement of head, actually. It's just transferred from one concern to other concern. The energy drainage is same.
Or whatever, family or this.
Anything. Anything that you engage yourself too much with is an impediment.
Any belief, basically.
Exactly. Belief is something that has no place at all in the system. Absolutely zero.
But this whole world is set up
functional. It's functional. There is no truth. The truth is functional. That they said, I have to vote to decide between Democrat and the other. I'll choose the best of the worst lot. What else can I do?
There is no truth in that.
There is no truth
just an
other than that. It's just the concept of truth is a very con game that the religious spiritual people are constantly imposing us. This idea that there is a God and if I don't pray, it will bring disaster to humanity has caused most horrible thing to humanity.
Also, it has created the devil, because it's all opposition.
Yeah, because if you don't believe, you are devil. So either you are with me or I kill you.
And I have to be good because in Buddhism.
So all my energy goes to sustain the idea that I am upholding. All my energy. I never question that Really? Is there any idea that worth giving importance to?
Yeah, but the thing is also, once this is seen, then there seems to be just this void, no? There, and one is...
Don't project.
Well, it's also an experience.
No, it is not experience. It is a logical conclusion.
You think it's not an experience, that there is nothing there? Because it's true, yeah, because now there's something.
It's a logical conclusion that people draw out of it and try to interpret themselves. When that movement that is constantly making you hear what I am saying is reduced, you will hear everything loud and clear instead of void and nothingness. Everything your system is supposed to receive.
That means there is only that now. Huh? What's going on here?
That's it. Nothing else is important.
Everything else is a conclusion or
logical conclusion,
which is not real.
Which has nothing to do with the reality of our existence at all.
Now happening.
Whatever is it now, what is happening, you will never know. I will never know. Why thinking about it?
Yeah.
The one who thinks is creating
sense.
A barrier right now.
Makes sense.
What is there for itself? It will exhibit itself. It will make it move in the field of living where the stress is minimized. That's all it wants. It does not want to pursue an idea. If I have to say anything that is functional in me, it is that. It just does not want to uphold any idea whatsoever.
But that has come about through a certain process, no?
Yes, process in a sense. It's a process in a sense. Now it is a personal question that I am answering to you. It is not generalized. Okay? The personal question is, I feel I can prove that scientifically through my power of causal connection between two events of life. Otherwise, we don't talk. You are asking me a personal question. I have to give a reflection of the idea that I have generated. I feel there is a big hand of U.G. Krishnamurti because his constant negation has completely cleaned up the shit that is below the feet. Finally, made the system stand on a place that it does not have to imagine its own existence. In doing so, there is a series of real physical experience. Why I talk so much about gland is, I had always a question like, is there anything that we can think and imagine that does not have a material existence inside us? I always, because that was my scientific background, I was a physicist, so I never believed something that can exist without interacting with me through my material existence, my neurons, my ideas, my everything. It has to impact somewhere. Without that, it is like neutrino. It will pass through. You will never know. Something that you don't see, don't hear, don't know, would maybe go constantly going and coming, that you have no address to. You have no idea about it. But that which I think and imagine has particular ideas. So whatever I was imagining, whatever the thing was going on, of course, like everybody, a lot of spiritual sadhana, not because I wanted to do it, I was forced into when I was a little boy, into Hindu Upanishads.
Sure, once you grow up in India,
U.G. Krishnamurti's association has really produced some physical effect. And
you mean physical changes or
yes,
physical movement?
Yes, physical movement inside it.
So you connect this with his presence, or because
that is what my point of view. You see, I can't prove it.
No, sure.
I can't prove it. It seems to me that I give very funny examples. It's like I masturbated all my life. It didn't produce anything. Suddenly I fucked and there was a kid growing in somebody's stomach.
Yes.
It's like my examples are very physical. It's like he came and the whole system began to doing something funny stuff. Actually, biology was not my field. I became so interested in biology because I wanted to know what is there in my body that's producing that kind of thing. I was afraid. I thought I had cancer or something.
It were very strong physical sensations.
Real lump, produces lumps here and there, and it's like suddenly testosterone developed in your balls. It's like that.
Chemical change.
Real chemical change. And that's why I begin to believe that it is not the belief It is the chemical change. For example, when a woman becomes pregnant, it produces milk by itself. The thing that is growing inside, the secretion of the chemicals in her body makes her feel a different feelings about the thing that is growing inside. That's what our mother felt about us. That's why
it alters everything, whole perception.
Whole thing is like protecting that which is growing inside the stomach. So like that, this enormous physical effect brings about a disposition which dispels this myth and belief constantly, because any myth and belief is turning the energy flow opposite direction, because it does not want any conflict. Anything that I believe and
it's your own body,
the body, physical existence, I could not even sustain my thinking. If I constantly think and do something, it makes a violent. Like some germ came to your body, immune system acted up so much, it gets fever, pain. This is fighting, like that. It just dispels violently the thinking process in the brain. That's why I created that kind of ideas, that the thought that we see has to go through several processes in the brain before it surfaces and make it a actionable entity inside us. And that is a very peculiar process. It's not that I know, but it makes things in so funny way inside, is that it was unknown. That's what I'm telling you. If it hits you, you don't need any justification. You don't need to. I say, when a woman becomes pregnant, she doesn't have to get any proof. It's going to beat inside. The life will start beating inside. Because of that, makes this physical existence the most vital and powerful entity than all the thought that has produced by the culture and society. That which makes me move is shifted, the balance.
So you mean the need of the physical existence makes you move now?
Makes me
the
move.
Needs and urges.
But you are in front of me. I don't have the information structure vanished. It is all there.
Yes, but in the background.
It's all there in the informational bank, which I have created by myself. I did not become dumb.
Apparently not.
Of course not. I did not stop processing my language at all. But the presence of you is created a movement inside me. I'm talking to you very personally now. The presence of you has created inside me, because the movement that is generating the conflicting thoughts, what I call is an expression of Peter, is creates an imposition. And the aim of this existence is to null that effect.
Yes.
Nothing else. Only I am not allowing Peter's any idea to sit inside me. That's all I'm doing. I'm not imposing anything on you. All I'm doing is not accepting anything that you say is true and valid out there in society other than your head. What is there in your head is an expression of conflict within, nothing else.
Yes.
If nothing here, nothing there, we hold our hand and walk and go. There is nothing to us, nothing to know. Yes, what we want to know is how good is the Ely coffee. That's all.
Very
I have to cook. Simple, straightforward question which has answer. Because these questions and the answer came through social justification. I need cash to go.
Yes.
How much is the ticket? True, that's the one. And other than that, there is nothing there that I can say that either I have or you don't have, or you have, I don't have. We are different. I have nothing that any other human being doesn't. It's all same. It's just a minor functionality difference. This is my belief, which came from the functionality, that this belief can grow inside you too, the moment you get a hands-on proof of it. That this is the most important vital thing. You don't believe it. You believe a particular state of disposition which is more important than what Peter is. To me, it's a total bullshit game. That breakdown of the authority can be done only by this physical body if it gets a chance. It will take over the role, which is always trying. It's an apparent thing that Peter is thinking he is the mover.
Yes.
He is not.
Yes.
But he doesn't believe it. That's why it wants to find a justification of its own movement. The moment that authority collapses inside, there is no external authority whatsoever. Anyway, that is true.
Yes.
If your heart doesn't move, if your lung doesn't give proper oxygen to your blood,
I'm gone.
you are nothing.
And there's no me here who makes all these movements.
Of course not. There is no unconscious me which creates a mystical, physical, nice thing. Nobody. We know that. Biologists know that. We have a bunch of 1,000 neurons in a proper thymus gland where if you just stop the neurotransmitter which goes from this set of 1,000 neurons to the rest of the brain, you are in coma. All the operations they do, synthesis, they attack that particular inhibitions of the neurons which stops connecting between that thalamus gland, a bunch of neurons. Not that. So, but that doesn't mean that that alone drives the consciousness.
Exactly.
That is just conditional. In a sense, it's just a necessary condition, not the sufficient condition to consciousness to be there. It's so like that, there are many things are like that inside our body, and it is doing itself.
Yes.
It wants to use what we call as information for it appropriate functioning. That's all.
But these are still explanations for process. We don't really know what it is.
No, totally unknown.
Like we don't know what is consciousness or what.
We don't.
We don't clue.
Truly,
we give it a name, but
we don't.
For something we don't know.
We don't know. But that doesn't mean that we may not gather sufficient information to prove what is the most fundamental attributes in the brain that can produce a thing called consciousness.
Of course.
We can come to that. But for an individual, that information is no good for it to function. Information is what our knowledge game does. Is nothing to do with the way it functions.
Exactly.
So the information that produces by the movement of knowledge creates an information bank has nothing to do with the modification of the information processing. You see, but that is what you are doing. You are trying to gather information by going to gurus, going to everything, to change the information processing which is not producing any conflict and sorrow. But it is not doing that. That information that you are gathering from here or from anywhere is not doing that. Is not doing anything to stop the information processing which is on the way of its proper functioning.
Exactly. It's only hindering actually.
It's actually coming on the way of its working in its own way.
But how can it come in the way when it's a totally imaginary process?
Yes, that's the whole thing. How is a small change in the neuron circuitry of an elephant makes it kill everything?
Yes. That is
It's small processing changes. Because a mad elephant, we are half mad people on
You
this.
see, it was always also I felt often depression. And I thought just a tiny substance of something could
Change.
shift this totally to the opposite. Like you take it, they have all kinds of drugs which all
that's very targeted.
And these are tiny amounts.
Small.
And it
So
has a tremendous effect on your...
that is the thing. What I say is, in the evolution scale, the human species have gathered this capacity in a very baby stage. We are only 40, 50, 100,000 years, which is nothing in the scale of evolution. It takes million generations to modify a particular capacity so we are in a very baby stage as far as the invasion of thinking in our brain and make us function. Mostly experimental stage. Nothing to do with us. We are part of the whole big life game.
Yeah.
So as an individual, as we talk, as we reflect, as we see there is a lot of process that we can't help it. Like the biologist every day invent. Like there are things that, I'm a physicist, so I can talk a little better in that way. Like any many-body system, the system which consists of millions of things, never repeats itself in its organization. So, and doing so, there is no perfection. There is always gaps, defects. These are normal. Some of the defects can expand so much that it comes in the functionality of its own advantage. The rabies in a dog kill other dogs. It's like that. They're always like that. But the only thing is the system is always trying to repair itself.
Yes.
That's the only thing that I felt is kind of functional truth. It's not an ideological truth. Is that there is something that wants to free oneself from the imposition of thinking, which creates conflict and makes you move away from the central need of the system to find equilibrium in the field of life. It always wants to be in equilibrium, and it does not want to waste energy when it is not necessary. That's its name of the game, the rhythm of life. And there is something in us which is constantly disturbed that rhythm of life.
Yeah.
In fact, all our dreaming is a process, as far as I'm concerned, is the body's trying to throw out that thing that has created deeper sensation in the brain circuitry, which comes on the way. Nothing else. It just cleans up the system. It's like reshuffling it to bring it to a equilibrium where it is more functional. You have to be rejuvenated when you get up from sleep, in all sense. Take the whole day as a new day.
Sometimes it doesn't feel like this. You feel
that means,
more tired when you wake
that
up.
means you have overdone something. It's like breaking a leg when you hurt yourself, or you did so much that we are hurting ourselves all the time. Overloaded in some. 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 Overloaded.